Welcome back to the Well-Rounded Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. We are here again, and today we kind of want to take a different topic we haven't really covered yet, and we're going to talk about alcohol and a combination with that and the way we socialize. So, Patrick, I'm just going to go in and kick it off right away.
Yeah.
What has been your experience on alcohol and going out or hanging out with friends overall?
Yeah. Obviously a roller coaster as when we were growing up, and
Oh, yeah.
we did it before we were 21. And, oh boy. Anyway.
I think a lot of police officers are listening to the Well-Rounded Wealth podcast, so
Yeah.
you just exposed us.
Good thing I'm always on the run. But yeah, we kind of got our bearings in high school, which was good and bad. It was good for the sense of
That college transition.
college
I
transition,
agree.
and it was a controlled environment most of the time when we were doing it.
Yeah.
So we were in our parents' house hanging out with the friends that we were really comfortable with. We were up front, and everyone knew what was going on.
We all learned our limits the hard way and learned it in a pretty safe environment.
Yeah. So I would say in that sense, I'm grateful for it. When I went to college, there was a ton of people that when it was time to go out, it was time to drink as much as you could to see who's could drink them as much as they could.
Yeah.
Which is terrible and detrimental. And especially me playing lacrosse, which our team and our teammates, we kind of had I wouldn't say a reputation, but a propensity to go super hard on the weekends because, we're athletes where we can't really drink during the week.
Right.
And especially during my sophomore year, we had a drinking rule. So any event the next day, we couldn't drink, which sure was good for actual training. But Saturday afternoon hit when we didn't have an event Sunday, it was all right. Time to cram a week's worth of drinking into one afternoon. So I would say my take and experience on alcohol has been very informative for me. It's helped me realize a lot, not just growing socially, but also who I want to be socially. So, and I guess kind of defining that a little more. I know that I'm obviously a little bit more outgoing as everyone is, just because how alcohol affects our our motor systems and kind of removes that governor on our brain to make decisions. So I enjoy that aspect of it, but when it gets beyond that to where I'm no longer functioning and making decisions that I'm comfortable with, like if I'm looking back on that decision I just made, I'm like, why the heck did I just do that? Then that's where that tipping point is for me, and that's where I don't like alcohol. So
Yeah. Well, anyone that knows me knows that I don't really drink at all, and I despise alcohol, and I hate it.
yeah, he's been sober his whole life.
I just Jim Halpert the camera. I just looked directly into it and smiled. No, so I grew to really enjoy drinking. Obviously joined a fraternity,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. You guys, we've had some great times drinking, and I've been having my big revelation with it around now, honestly, last 3 months or so, because COVID hit us in our sophomore year of college.
Yep.
Classes became a joke. They were all virtual. You could go in and turn your camera off, not even be in the room, still get an A in the class. And what else to do but hang out in someone's apartment and drink?
Yeah.
So that started to become very, very frequent, incredibly frequent. I started drinking a lot. And that was my first instance where I started to see, because at first when it was us drinking with friends, doing it just on the weekends or every other weekend, it was always fun. I never saw any bad sides to alcohol. It was just us being goofy. And the next morning we'd like have fun stories that we still talk about to this day.
Yeah.
That period where I was just drinking constantly and not really doing much else, that was where I started to finally see the negative side of alcohol and why people are in AA, why people don't look at alcohol as this great thing. There's never any downside to it. That was my first eye-opening experience to that.
Yeah.
And still drank a lot Throughout plenty. I drank through plenty of my college. Nothing to a point where I stopped being active or stopped being active in class, stopped doing what I had to do,
Yep.
and all that stuff. But it definitely takes a toll on the body. That's
Yeah.
one thing I've learned. That was probably my biggest, okay, I gotta chill out. And a big one is what you said earlier. It's when I have done things under the influence to a point where I've drank so much that I'm like, no shot I did that. Why did I do that? I
Yeah.
would never do that. The second alcohol started infringing on my personal values, on something that I know I would never do and don't approve of and wouldn't do without it, that's where I was like, okay, it's time. It's time to check this out. It's time to look at it. I need to check this out.
Yeah. And I say, I mean, most people, or actually, I can't speak to most people on this because I think everyone has a different experience with it.
Incredibly.
Some people try it, they absolutely hate it, and they never want to touch it again.
Yep.
Some people try it, they love it, and they get lost in it. Some people, like my experience in terms of, if you just look at it on a graph of how it was, I enjoyed it a lot, and then I kind of saw people start to overuse it, so I didn't really like that. And then all of a sudden, just with physical activity stuff, I stopped using it like completely,
Right.
just because of the scientific effects and stuff like that. And then I've kind of found a little bit more of a balance because, and this is for people who are over 21, they'll enjoy the actual drink more. Like, I actually enjoy some type of alcoholic drinks. Like, I like wine, I like cocktails,
Yeah.
I like bourbon, which
Love
is
bourbon.
completely fine. Like, but it's being able to kind of find that balance. And what was tough for me was when I went completely cold turkey for it was like 4 months. It was because I was training, but it also removed a social aspect for me. So I did it for training because I knew how it affected sleep, and just for people who don't know and kind of want a little bit more information on it, how alcohol affects sleep is your body has to process it through, it's broken down in the liver by turning into an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase, and then that transforming to ethanol into a toxic compound called acetaldehyde.
You idiot. you don't know how to say acetaldehyde.
Yeah. So I learned that and it was fascinating with it. And that compound is a toxin to your body. So you can't go into rapid eye movement sleep or REM sleep
When you're dreaming.
And that's when you go into dreams, when you're in REM sleep. So when your body is breaking that down, you cannot get into REM sleep. So I learned that, and REM sleep is also the most regenerative sleep, especially for training purposes. So I learned that, and I was like, okay, well, why the hell am I drinking? But instead of just drinking only when it was social and like having one or two glasses, I cut it out completely. So
Right.
that also removed the social component. And another point in this transition as well is, can you have a good time, or how do you socialize with having alcohol and maintaining a certain level of it, or without drinking? Can you go out and socialize without drinking at a bar kind of club scene?
Yeah. So another thing I've noticed with that is that before I ever started drinking, going way back there, if I was at birthday party, any gatherings, any events, any just hanging out with friends, there was never, before I ever tried alcohol, there was never a part of me that's like, oh, I'd probably be more social if I had a little buzz going on or was a little drunk. I would just be social.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ridiculous. Like, it's not like I'm some introvert who doesn't talk to people when I'm sober now. But even last night, I was somewhere and I was pretty sober, and I was not Mr. Outgoing, Mr. Introducing myself to every new face I didn't know. I was kind of talking to people I didn't know. I introduced myself to some people. It wasn't like I was being just in the corner or anything like that. But I do think I have socially gained somewhat of a reliance on that. And that's another thing I really want to focus on in the future when I'm going out. Say, if we go out tonight,
Yeah.
I do not want to feel the need. Well, I might feel the need, but I don't want to start drinking heavily because I think, oh, if I have another drink, I'll be more social.
Yeah,
And I think I need
become
to
dependent.
yeah, and gain a dependency on a substance rather than just talking to people and getting to know someone and be comfortable in my own skin.
Exactly. I think that is a great point, and kudos to you for remembering that. It's just like when we're kids, like, also, so two things. When we're kids, we don't drink. Like when we're, whatever, 8 to 10 years old. You're not going to
But
go.
11, we start.
And 12?
11th birthday.
12?
11 shots for 11th birthday.
Fireball, specifically.
Oh my god.
That would be a societal shock.
Sorry, but your point.
Kids walking around in 11 birthday parties. Mom, I don't feel so good.
That could be in a movie.
Yeah.
But your point, when we weren't drinking.
Yeah,
as
anyway.
kids.
So
Sorry.
we're not drinking, and we're playing with the other kids around us by associative play, and it's great. And then when you get to high school, or if it's college, that play and going out turns from, oh, this is just me hanging out with my friends, to this is a societal norm that has been established for so many years that you have to drink in order to go out.
They go hand in hand. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would
and
agree with
especially,
that.
I mean, it could be different for other people, but when I was kind of getting introduced to it, like I remember one of my friends were like, and this was before we were really hanging out, like our groups, but they were like, yeah, don't you know it's like normal to drink in high school? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like we were taught not to. Like, what do you mean? So that was kind of like oh, okay, well, I guess if I want to be cool or something like that, I have to drink. And
there was a social pressure there for
yeah,
sure.
100%.
Drinking's cool. It was, yeah.
When you first taste alcohol, unless you're a superhero, it doesn't taste good. Like,
You want to hear something crazy? I hated beer so much. Grossed me out. But the very first time I took a shot, it was grape vodka.
Oh gosh.
I loved it.
He was probably drinking.
I thought it was crazy. I thought it was so good. Not good. It still had a gross feeling, but that instant like burn of throat, I was like, this is insane.
You got a little
I'll never remember.
rush.
I remember the guys I was with, and they're like, oh, you're going to like alcohol, aren't you, John?
But yeah, like I still don't like beer to this day, and like even the first time I drank, I was like, I don't know if this is it, but I guess I have to.
Yeah, no,
So,
I definitely felt a pressure to drink beer, and now I've become accustomed to it. It tastes fine now, whatever.
Yeah, like anything you do that you do more often and repeat, like it becomes a little bit more natural. But one thing when I went on that hiatus of not drinking, I noticed myself like lacking socially. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go out with friends that I know they're drinking. I'm going to go out without drinking. I'll be the DD. So like I have also an excuse to say like, oh, why aren't you drinking? It's, well, I'm driving. So, and I had a great time because I was consciously there, and two, it was like people watching for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like everyone was drinking.
Was I the people?
No, this isn't college, but like everyone was drinking, most people too much. So it was like, wow, this is what people do when they're overly intoxicated.
This is how it is from a bird's eye. Yeah.
And everyone else is more social because they've been drinking. So you don't really have to worry about, oh, is someone going to come talk to me or something like that. So if anyone hasn't tried it, try it.
Yeah. No, I've done it before. I have done it before, and I did enjoy it. And it gives you an opportunity to, one, work on socializing using charismatic skills, which can be studied, whether you're making new friends, talking to girls or girls talking to guys. It's definitely a really, really cool, almost in a way, tool. Because now going out, I wouldn't call it a challenge necessarily, but now it becomes, okay, what can I say, what can I do to get to know people, make new friends? I'm in a new city, to make new friends, meet people I would like to take out on a date. And now you get to really focus on that rather than just like the woo, which
Yeah.
it's okay to do that sometimes. This is definitely not like a everyone should be sober always podcast.
John's always been sober though.
Besides me.
You angel.
But I've definitely found, like any drug, like any habit, any addiction to anything, whether that's even saw earlier, like gaming, whether it's food, anything, or
Yeah.
particularly like maybe sweets, maybe I have an Oreo thing. It's fine. And it's me who has the Oreo thing. And it's fine. But in moderation. It's just in moderation. I'm not trying to preach anything really. Do what you want to do. But I've learned myself that moderation is very important.
Yeah, it's especially important. Like we're I think one point to discern here is alcohol, certain drinks are good. Like they make them not so that you feel the burn, but so that you can enjoy the actual taste and the effects that it gives. Like a wine you don't drink because it's like, oh geez, I'm gonna drink this and be like, woo, here we go. But we're not saying, okay, never have a glass of wine. But if you're someone who has a glass of wine every night, I don't know, try and have one every other night or something like that. Because you enjoy that glass, that gives you pleasure, and that gives you enjoyment, the taste of it. But would sacrificing that return a greater benefit later in life than it does right now? So
Potentially.
yeah.
But yeah. And as far as any habits like drinking goes, it's your call. You know yourself better than anyone. For me, that's just a lesson I've learned.
Yeah.
That for me personally, Jack Mullen, moderation is becoming much, much more important. And I'm not saying that on certain occasions I'm not going to have a fun, crazy night where I'm with my close friends and we're gonna drink a lot and have a fun, goofy time and then the next morning laugh about it. But that's really important for me. If I ever, back when we would always hang out, Pat and our buddies, and Clayton, who we had on recently.
Yeah.
When we have gotten really drunk together, stories,
Yep.
laughing the next morning. I love the morning after better than the actual night because we just start sharing what we remember and crazy funny things that people were doing, and we still laugh out some of those nights to this day.
100%.
You not being home at 7 a.m. to work out from my house and walking into my guest bedroom, seeing you on the floor passed out at 9 a.m. is my favorite memory of you that I've ever had in my entire life. He literally, every time I would have people over, Patrick would be up and at him 6:30, 7 a.m. out of the house. We'd wake up and go, where's Patrick? We had a really crazy night. And we all woke up and we were like, do we think Patrick's still here? And we all go to the guest room where you were sleeping and you're still there, passed out. And, it was the best.
That was probably one of the drunkest I've ever been.
It's the drunkest I've ever seen you.
Because I woke up and I was like, yeah, let's keep going. I guess shit. But I think one important point on that is like we were in a controlled environment, which allowed us to
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
we started the city of Charlotte, but it got crazy
when
back
we went
in my family house.
Yeah. But it was somewhere where we were comfortable. Like, and I think what we should, in one of our topics that we want to cover in this episode, is defining the biggest misconceptions around alcohol and going out, and how we can kind of shift that perspective. Because our whole goal with Well-Rounded Wealth especially is we're growing with this too, as you've heard from our stories. We have not always had this perception of alcohol.
No, not at all. A year ago, I didn't have this perception of alcohol.
Yeah. And
it took me some mistakes to realize it. Our New Year's Eve, the one 2 ago.
Yep.
It's a funny story now, but that was not a good story.
Yeah.
That was public place. I wandered off. Don't remember any of it. Could have been in serious danger.
Yeah.
And have made you guys worry about me for like an hour.
Yeah.
That's not something I woke up proud to. We laugh about it now because it's been so long. those were a couple of days where I was not feeling good about myself
Yeah.
because I behaved in that fashion and let myself do that.
Yeah. And I think it definitely has to do with the social setting and the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Because that's how most people grow up learning and experimenting with alcohol. So my hope would be to people who are hearing this and people who are also on that journey or maybe about to start that journey is be very conscious about what you're feeling when you start drinking, and like take a few minutes before between each drink and be like, okay, how did I feel there? Is this a limit where it's a little bit too much? Like, am I right in the line? Like, and that's something you can experiment with if you enjoy going out and socializing with alcohol. But I think the most dangerous misconception is you have to drink to go out and to have fun, and you have to drink a lot.
Yeah.
And that's something that, especially over COVID in the past few years, we saw a lot with college students. Like, all right, it's a party. Who can drink the most? Like,
Yeah.
or who is gonna be a part of that story in the morning?
Right.
Like,
That's
even though it might be funny, you're the butt of it, and like you're that person that drank that much.
right. Exactly. Yeah. I will say this. Yeah, we should. But I will say this. One thing that I have really enjoyed about that experience of like getting really drunk, the only thing is us bonding over those stories and becoming good friends. Lately, it's been wake up the morning after a night of going out at school, going places.
Yeah.
So, yep, we were really drunk. And then we don't talk about it. And we were all really drunk. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I like the part where we like are like, remember when that happened? Or like this idiot over here was doing that. Or like that's the part that I've always loved the most.
Yeah.
So with the absence of that also has discouraged it a ton.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess like wrapping this up a little bit, how do you see yourself in terms of your relationship with alcohol and socializing over the next year or a few years?
For me personally, I think I'm gonna set a boundary for myself. Definitely. I think I never want to black out in public for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That I never in public for the rest of my life, like at a bar or a club or anything like that. I never want that to happen.
I hope by yourself too. You know, when you blacking out by yourself.
The only time I think it could happen is maybe any like controlled environment with people you're really close to, an occasional thing, celebrate bachelor party, anything like that. Maybe a birthday celebration hosted at your place or one of your friends' places.
Yeah,
those type of things I think is a ton of fun. And also for people listening to me that have been hanging out with me lately, like I've been getting drunk recently with my buddies. I'm not gonna act like I've just been this 2 drinks a night, get a small buzz, and I'm out. That has not been me lately, and I don't plan on fully cold turkeying that as I go out into the real world. And I think a part of why I'm doing a lot now is because I'm still in college. I can still do this. You know, that's been a big part of it too.
It's the safe space.
Yeah. So that's been an aspect of that as well. But I would just say, I want to go out. I want to give being sober some test runs and go for that. I also don't think I think it's okay if I have a couple drinks or so as well. And if I ever am kind of going for it, it would probably be with you, with Clayton, with other friends of ours. It would probably be with them. Yeah. Because that I'm comfortable with. That. Yeah. And I think every once in a while, I think every once in a while that's okay.
Yeah, and I think last point here before we end it, it's like be able to be in the moment and experience it, especially people who are listening who are going into the real world or who are in the real world. People who build bars and who own bars, some of them are pretty cool. So being able to go out and kind of experience the environment you're in with the people there, meeting new people, why are they out, what are they doing, like that kind of stuff is fascinating and interesting. And as you continue to go new places, live in new cities, try new experiences, like that is a great way, to your point, is to socialize and interact with new people, because it's something that brings people together and allows them to be more social. So I think at the end of the day and at the end of this conversation is find your balance with going out and be able to set your limits and know your limits so that you can go out and experience and have a joyful experience with alcohol and socializing.
Yeah. To cap it off on my end, we definitely talked in probably multiple episodes about one of the things we cherish most in life is the memories that we have and experiences we had, time spent with people that we love. If you're going out and blacking out, there goes that memory.
Yep.
There it goes. That's one thing I've learned the hard way.
Yep.
In some instances where there's been nights that were awesome, and I've especially that New Year's night that I referenced earlier. I always regret not being able to remember such a cool night.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big lesson I've learned.
But have fun, be safe, and remember to follow us on our website and on Instagram, and leave any comments or questions or episode topics that you guys want to hear about.